All right, for this next bit, I'm going to show you something out of myself and Simon Patterson's track, Something's Up, which was released just about a year ago. A lot of emails come in and people are always asking how we made the bass line that comes in after the break on that track, because it's really, really dirty, really gritty. It's similar to that, Benassi type Satisfaction style bass, but it's a lot edgier and a lot more layers to it. So the simple answer is we just used 4 different bass lines to make the bass. It was either 3 or 4. So basically I'm going to take it and I'll show you what's making each of the layers and how you tie them all together. So basically you'd have the build-up coming in from here. Yeah, it's 4 layers. This is the bass here. So basically I'll solo out that. Should have them all on the bus. Like that. So this would be one bass. Very, very, just almost brittle in a way, but it does add extra texture to the bass. Then you got this one, the deep one. You have absolutely ridiculous edge style bass. I'll tell you what each of these ones are in a second. I think I got killed on a pitch bend again. Let's try it again. And that's the main meat of the bass. So okay, so this particular synth, this is the main part of it. This is just an ES2. It's a single saw oscillator. Very simple sound, pitched way down. Then it goes through Ohm Force Ohmicide, which is an amazing distortion unit. Gets pretty much broken down to fits. I mean, without the Ohmicide on it, it's a completely different sound. Then channel EQ, just to kind of boost a little bit of the low mid, a little bit of the low highs. Side chaining, so this way. Oh, the pitch bend again. Good enough. And okay, for a good example, this is another example of the Renaissance bass as well. Without this on it, it just doesn't sound as good. I mean, I like with the Renaissance bass on it. It's a bit warmer because we're gonna be making up for the high mids and the highs anyway with the other basses. And yeah, that's basically it for that particular sound. That's that layer. This is the secondary layer, the electro deep one. What is this? This is just the deep sub off the V-Station. Also a very, very simple sound. It's a 2 oscillator saw wave bass. One oscillator, 1 octave under the other. Way down, filter way down, resonance up a bit, and you get the basic sound. I filtered off all the additional highs with an EQ, so this way you only get the bass end of it, and it's also sidechained to the kick or to the kick tapped, as I explained earlier. So that's just an extra layer. This sound's made by the ES2. Also a very simple sound as well. It's 1 saw tooth oscillator, filtered down a bit. I'm guessing just with a bit more resonance. That was it. And that was just for the extra texture. Also sidechains. It's very important that all of these are sidechained because all of them together is going to be really, really messy for the mix. So if you just sidechain it to the kick and it gets the pumping going on. It's only used in one small section of the track anyway, so that's what we figured. We might as well just leave it. Leave them sidechained because it creates a lot of rhythm in just this section. That's all we needed. This is the other bass. This one's playing off a Vanguard. And it's a sound, I think it's off the presets in Vanguard, as a matter of fact. But yeah, as you can hear that the tone in it is very different from the other synths you're going to get out of like the ES2, ES1, V-Station, or even Virus. It's just a unique sound. It doesn't sound amazing, but with the conglomeration of the bunch of sounds, it just really helps. And that's also going through just an EQ and sidechain compression. Let's see, there's one other sound that I'm totally missing here. Here we go. And here's the one that gives it all the edge. This is probably the one that most people are going to want to know which synth that is. So let's see. It's the V-Station. And this sound is basically... how is that sound made? Okay, this is a FM type sound. So that really aggressive ripping sound is made because it's using FM synthesis on the 3rd oscillator. If you turn up the FM, it's going to sound quite different. So you get a totally different sound if you turn up the FM. And you actually, even if you turn more, it's all different textures. I love the FM stuff because it actually creates it's a really unique metallic edge. It's almost on the verge of distortion, but it's not. It's just a different texture. So then to hear it all come into the mix again. So let's see. And these sounds just basically just wait there for you. All the orange ones are all the basses. And that's how that ends up sounding in the final mix. And actually, before this track, I was never a big fan of layering leads and layering basses together. I figured, I was kind of a lazy producer. I just don't want to. I was always kind of a lazy producer. I didn't want to you spend too much time making one particular sound. But if you layer and spend the time doing it, you're going to get a sound that nobody else has, and everybody's going to ask you, where'd you make that sound? What synth is that made on? And when the answer is actually not as easy as just one simple synth, it actually feels a lot better. So the next thing I'll show you how to layer the leads, and this is also layering, but it's a little bit simpler. It's only 2 layers, but how to layer and affect the leads on my track Verano, well, my remix of Vascotia Verano that I've just recently finished. Okay, so I'll load up this melody. You can hear what the melody sounds like from literally where it first starts getting filtered in, and you can get a feel for the sound of it. It's not much different from most standard trance leads, but it's just got a nice, really very rhythmical, and even when there's not a beat playing, you can still kind of dance to it. I'll give you a head start. The 2 leads, the 2 synths that are layered together are the ES2 out of Logic and the Axis Virus. In a club, that is pretty brutal. So, and it sounds better when everything else is in the mix as well. So let's just take a look and see what they actually look like as far as patches and effects go. The first one is the Virus one, so we'll load that up. And that sound, this actually is the lesser of the 2. I would say the ES2 is the main one. I think the ES2 does a better job. The Axis one fills the holes, like the frequency holes, so to speak, that the ES2 will leave behind, and kind of just makes it a much, much fatter lead. So obviously you have the way the notes are sequenced and whatnot are relatively short. And it's oscillator-wise, it's very simple to hear. It's 3 oscillators, all saws, unison mode detuned, pretty reasonably, 5 voice. And then of course you have the normal effects like a clock tape delay, one going to 3/4 and one going to 3/16 and one going to 4/16, and you have a long haul reverb on it. Fairly standard for any trance, big, super saw type lead. But I still put another reverb on it also just to kind of get it to mesh better with the other synth, the lead off the ES2. And this one's the one off the ES2. And as you can hear, the Virus one was a little bit warmer. This is a little bit more thinner and brittler. So that's exactly why you kind of need to layer the 2 together and you get this really good texture. With only one of them, it wouldn't work. And that's the same exact MIDI. In fact, I think I actually layered in an extra layer of bass notes just to kind of try to give it a little bit better bass warmth, but didn't really work too well, thus the Virus is with it. And then, the effects on this is a little bit more lavish. I gave it the just standard channel EQ, filtered off some of the bass. And then, then it gets a little too big on the other side. Homeboys, again, the same simple delay, low pass filter, LFO. preset. Probably the most overused preset in all of trance of any synth or effect, but so what? It works good. Stereo delay, that came after that, just to even further space it out on the left and the right. And normally, I didn't do it here, but normally when I do set stereo delays, if your delays lets you change the percentage of where it sits, like normally it'll say like 50%. So if there's any way you can make it so it's not exactly an eighth note or a 16th note or a 3/4 note, you just kind of move it over. Like the way Logic works is if I want a eighth note, if I want a 3/4 note, then basically I just kind of move put it on eighth note setting and move over the slider to 75%. So basically, just to keep it from phasing, so that the two notes don't align in the course of their delays, I'll shift it back from 75% to 74.66. And on the other side, if it's just an eighth note and you don't want that to phase, and I think it's really important, especially on leads like this where it already sounds like a bit phased, you shift the 50 over to 50.33, and it'll help your delays and it'll help everything really sit a lot better. It's a tiny, tiny little detail, but it'll actually help your delays sound a little bit better. Let's see what else. Then after that, we have the standard reverb again, Arch Acoustic popping up, still my favorite. And I don't normally use limiters on synth channels. I kind of let the limiter on the master be the one, but on this one I kind of use it because that synth was getting a little bit unwieldy with all the effects on it. So I just put a limiter on it. Not to really do much, just to push it up a bit into a ceiling. That was it. And then compressor after that, just to sidechain it a bit after all was said and done. So this way it never really interferes with the kick. And that's basically that for that particular lead. All right, and on the same track, I'm now going to show you the way I've done the layering of the bass lines for the same track. It's actually not even 1 or 2 or 3 layers this time. It's actually 6. So I'll show you what they each sound like. Well, first I'll show you what it's going to sound like first. So you'll hear it drop in a second here. So I was to whittle that down and get them all. Okay, everything in. I'm still missing one somewhere. I know where it is. I think I'm still missing a sub bass. There's an acid that's also going to the same channel. That's not good. But okay, let's figure that. Bass main. That's funny. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the main sub of the bass line. Obviously, just relatively simple pattern, as you can see. When it comes through off of, we're going to step through it one by one. It gets sidechained a bit, so this way the kick bass and the kick bass tail is not really fighting with these because these notes are much longer. Then we have this other bass, which is probably the secondary sub bass. It's not very subby, it doesn't go all the way down, but if you hear that, actually, that's one of Logic 9.02's new bugs. It doesn't shut the notes off when you press stop. You have to do it manually. But if you press play again, it stops. So this is the other one. It's got a little bit more bass than the other mid basses, a tight bit of edge, and it's kind of weird because I never put reverb on basses, but since there's no sub, I figure there's no damage, and that's why I just kind of I've used this bass on a couple of tracks as mid bass, and I'm always really happy with the result. It always kind of creates this kind of extra kind of rhythm that goes underneath, and it's really subtle. Most people don't even hear it and really realize it's there, but it helps a lot. Then the other basses are more kind of on a straight up on the high mid rhythm. So this one's off the Virus. You can do a ton of stuff with this particular bass. Okay, so basically you can either adjust all different things. And like I said, in isolation, all these basses sound relatively boring, but when it's all going together, it's a nice mess. This is more decoration. This is what I call more of just a decoration for it, but it also functions really, really well. This is an ES2, very high resonance type bass with all the bass, of course, filtered right off of it. Resonance pumped up and stereo delay coming through. I think there's a phaser on it as well. Yeah, there's also a phaser on it to give it the extra movement through the whole thing. It works really, really well. This is not really a part of the bass line, but it actually does, it fits in with the basses because it progresses the same way with all the stuff, so I kind of left it in with the basses. And there's still one more layer of the bass. Oh, by the way, that bass is that's also the V-Station, also on that very high FM setting to give it that kind of weird, crazy edge. I don't want to say weird, crazy edge, more like metallic edge. And this is the one off the Vanguard. It's also going to just very standard stuff, just a stereo delay, a sidechain compressor, and then just an additional EQ to shave off some extra frequency areas. The very, 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 very digital sounding lead. And most of it. I'm actually fatten it up anymore. So that's basically that. So then we start layering them all together. I just turned my sidechain trigger on, so now actually it's working quite well. And we get the kick and stuff in with that. And that's basically how that bass fits into play.